Good morning, everybody. I'm Mara from The Mara Show, founder of FemPower You and Financial Power You. And every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, I'm broadcasting live with amazing guests who are experts in the areas of personal development, business, and relationships. And today, I have the amazing Gayle Carson here with me. She is the S.O.B. She's going to talk a little bit about that, and also speaks all over the world on living regret-free. An incredible woman whose story has inspired me. I've had the opportunity to interview her for my Fem-Powered Women interview series, and I'm excited to have her here today on The Mara Show. So let's welcome Gayle Carson.
Well,
Hi, Gayle.
hello everybody, and hello Mara.
Great to see you.
Thank you, and it's great to see you as well. You're always your bubbling, cheery self.
Yes, I am. Well, I want to jump right into our conversation, and what I wanted to start with is having you tell a little bit about your story, because it's such an inspiration as a female entrepreneur and how you stepped out years ago to begin owning successful businesses. So will you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, actually, it's funny because, yes, I did do this before. I guess it was fashionable. And my very first job, believe it or not, was at the age of 13 when I was selling Avon cosmetics from door to door, and I became the top salesperson in our whole area. And between then and, of course,
At 13?
At 13, I mean, laws.
Wow.
This was the 50s, Mara, and you didn't have all the laws and regulations that you have now. And people were home in the 50s, and I went knocking on doors. I was tiny. And once I got inside, I wouldn't leave until they bought. They didn't know what to do with me, so they all ordered, and so it worked out very well.
Awesome.
And then, of course, I created my jobs, one job every year to give me experience until I went off to college. So I worked in a radio station. I worked as a dance, music, acting coach in a camp, and a variety of things that I did. And I went off to college at 17. And when I finished college, I had a dream to either move to Miami, which I thought was the closest, or LA. And I gave myself 14 days to make it. On the 14th day, I got the job I wanted, and 8 months later, I owned the business. It was a small modeling school. I developed into a chain of career schools and a talent agency, SAG and AFTRA, and a convention service company. So I had 7 offices and 350 people, and that's what I did for 21 years. And then I sold it to go on the speaking circuit, spoke in 50 countries, 49 states, had 1,000 clients in 50 industries, and did that for 21 years. And then 9/11 happened, and it changed the whole industry. I started my own association with a partner, sold that back to him after 5 years, and then began the S.O.B. So that's it.
Whirlwind tour. So I want to talk a little bit about that moment when you ended up moving. You decided, I'm going to give myself 14 days to be successful. You were how old when you decided to move to Miami and just step out and say, I'm going to make this happen?
I was 20 years old, and I had no idea. I mean, you're so naive at 20, and I had a terrific education. My education was in theater and broadcasting and speech and education, and I just had this firm belief I could do anything at all. And so I moved with supreme confidence, no money, but supreme confidence. And that's really what did it, because I believed in myself. And at that age, you really don't know any better. And I think sometimes it's even better to be naive and go for it than do all your research and strategizing and be scared of the risk.
Mm-hmm. So fast forwarding to today, you now live in 3 different places. You have run multiple companies. So tell us a little bit about the lifestyle that you've created with S.O.B.
Well, I do live in 3 places. I live in Miami Beach and San Diego and Palm Springs. And then, of course, I'm a lot of places in between as I do various things, and I go to various events. And basically, I work out every day. I'm a fanatic as far as it comes to fitness. In fact, I went to the fitness convention 2 weeks ago, Mara, and I won a medal.
Wow.
So I said anything I can win at my age. I love that. So I'm very into physical fitness. And then basically I love my pets. My dog travels with me. My cats, unfortunately, I don't take them with me. I have someone that comes in and looks after them. And then basically I live the lifestyle I want. I speak and I coach and I mentor and I volunteer in a lot of organizations, and I'm starting S.O.B. clubs around the country. So that is my next venture.
All right, so let's talk a little bit. You've mentioned S.O.B. a couple of times, and I know some people have a specific reference that they might think that has to do with, but tell us a little bit about what S.O.B. means to you and how you got that name.
Well, of course, I refer to myself as Dr. Gayle S.O.B., which is Spunky Old Broad. And that's my website, spunkyoldbroad.com. And basically, I was sitting in the back of a speech, actually. This was at the Florida Speakers Association. And I was sitting with a group of women, and we started getting a little chatty. And I kept saying, no, we've got to be quiet. We've got to be respectful. And they said, well, this and that. And I said, well, we're just a couple of SOBs, spunky old broads. And it just stuck. And really, that does epitomize who I am. But for everyone else who doesn't want to be considered a spunky old broad, it stands for spunky, open, and brave.
Perfect. So an easy way to throw the old out if somebody doesn't want to identify with that.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. So one of the things that you speak about today is living regret-free. Can you talk about how that has become something that you're able to travel all over the country speaking about and speaking to audiences, and a little bit about what that really means to you?
Well, let me tell you really how it came about. I had gone through a lot of things in the last 10 years. I lost a son, I lost a husband, I had my third case of breast cancer, had my 14th, 15th, and 16th surgeries, and just people kept saying, why are you always so happy? And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, you're always smiling, you're always happy. I said, well, there are two choices in the world. There's happy and there's sad, and I'd much rather be happy. And so they said, well, easy for you. I said, no, it's not easy for me. You have to practice life a certain way. And they kept saying, it's easy for you, it's easy for you. And that's where I came up with my 9 secrets to living regret-free. I talked about the things that I do on a daily basis that allow me to live that way. And the interesting thing, Mara, is that a lot of people want to do it, but they're not prepared to put the work and effort into it. Because even just like in business, it's important for you to be structured and have a certain routine and do certain things every single day. It's the same thing in your life. You have to practice it a certain way. It doesn't mean I'm rigid. I'm far from rigid, but there are things you have to do every single day if you want to live regret-free.
So would you be willing to share, what the exciting thing is that you're actually going to be joining me next weekend at the FemPower You Live event, and you're going to be speaking about those 9 keys to living life regret-free. So we don't want to give all of the tips away, but can you tell us maybe your 2 or 3 favorite tips to living a regret-free life?
Well, the first one I would say absolutely is your attitude and your spirit. And that's because if you wake up every day determined to have a good day, you will. And if you wake up thinking about every problem in your life, you won't. And so it's very, very important. And there's a lot of things that I'll go into at your program about why that's important. But it's really attitude and it's really spirit, because that sets you up for the day. I would say another thing is how you manage your day, your time management. And the reason that's important is many people let others control their day. Now, if you are employed, certain things have to be done. In other words, if your boss asks you to do something, absolutely. But on the other hand, there are families who always say, will you do this for me? Will you do that for me? And they take your time. There are friends that ask you to do certain things. Now, yes, you should be available to your family. You should be available to your friends. But when it comes at the sacrifice of your personal time that you need for yourself, then the answer is no. So it's really how to say no without feeling guilty. I guess that's one of the things that you have to look at. So I would say time management. And the third thing I would say would be really your physical fitness. And the reason I talk about physical fitness is, and this doesn't mean anybody has to do what I do, but they should be moving every day. And so whether that's swimming or whether that's walking or whether that's yoga or whatever it happens to be, if you don't feel good and if your body doesn't feel good, you will not feel good, and it will keep you from accomplishing what you want to do in a day, and it will not allow you to live regret-free. So I would say those are really the 3 major things.
So as a spunky old broad, I know you are usually willing to share that O with us. What is your age, and how have you really committed to making these things happen for so many years in your life?
Well, first of all, I'm 76 years old. That's why when I won that medal at the fitness convention, I said, I don't care. At my age, I'm glad to win any medal. So 76 is my age, and I hope I'll go on for many, many more years. And I guess it's the fact that I do feel good and that I do have a tremendous amount of energy and stamina that allows me to keep being creative. But I have many friends who are older than I am who are doing extremely well because their mind never stops. And I think that's what it is. When you're always looking for opportunity, when you're always looking for something new, when you're always willing to learn something new. I mean, I go to workshops and seminars all the time because I want to know what other people are saying and doing, what the new things are. I think all of those things help to keep you young. And you know, Meryl, you're the opposite of my age, and yet there are people your age that I'm sure you know who are old because they're sedentary in their ways. They don't want to learn new things. They're very happy to be the way they are. Whereas, you know, there are many people my age that are learning all kinds of new skills. So I really think it's the attitude, going back to the attitude again.
Yeah, that was one of the fun things when we were introduced formally from our friend Jenny Craig, who said, you two have the most energy and you're like bookends. Mara's over here at 29 and Gayle's over here at 76, and you two need to play together. And it's been an absolute inspiration to get to know you, learn more about your story, and really honor you for stepping out and having the attitude of, I'm going to make this happen for me. In the 50s, when you moved to Miami as a 20-year-old and just said, I'm going to give myself 14 days to figure this out, and it worked. So can you talk a little bit about the actual attitude that you bring to life and how that has inspired you to be able to achieve as much as you have?
Well, first of all, I have to say that I love people and I love life. So if you like people and you like life, and I always like learning, and I'm always excited about what I do, and I'm always excited about learning what other people do. So it's a continual learning process that I have. And yeah, there are people I like to model myself after, and yet I say I'm an individual too. So the process is that I just keep doing something and try to do it better every single day until I don't want to do it anymore, and then I stop doing it and go on to something else. And I think that's a key factor for many people. Some people stay at their job too long. Some people stay in a relationship too long. Some people stay in, a situation, any situation, too long. So I think it's being able to ask yourself every day, is this making me happy? Not that I gloss over obstacles. There are obstacles every single day that you have to face. But why complicate it even more when you're living a life that is not giving you happiness?
Mm-hmm. Very, very true. So when you're talking about happiness and designing the life that you want, what did you do, or what were you thinking about, or what did you envision that allowed you to create this lifestyle where you are living in 3 places with a dog traveling around with you, speaking all over the country, probably all over the world, at 76 years old, just getting started and really making a difference for people? How did you decide to design this type of a lifestyle?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure I always purposely designed this lifestyle. I didn't anticipate that I would be a widow, but I was happily married for 45 years, and I still traveled all the time when my husband was alive because that was my job, speaking. And I always worked a lot of long hours because that's what I did in having my own business. But he was a hard worker too, so it kind of worked out for us together. However, when he passed away, and I did already own my home in San Diego, so it was just a matter of going there either more frequently or in a different manner. And when I sold my big home in Miami Beach and moved into an apartment, then I bought my home in Palm Springs. And so I try to really scoop out and carve out the time to be in all 3 places because I enjoy them all, and I have friends in all. And that's another thing, Mara. I think you have to be open to creating new friendships and finding new people and investigating new things. I'm not the kind of person that's afraid to go anywhere by myself. So whereas some people won't go out to dinner by themselves or go to a movie by themselves or go to a play by themselves, I go everywhere by myself. And if I sit next to somebody or if I talk to somebody, I make a friend. And that's how I develop my lifestyle where I am, because my friends like to do certain things. They invite me to certain things, and then I meet more people. So it's kind of that situation.
I love it. And while we're kind of on the topic, you mentioned your husband and everything that we had a little bit deeper conversation in the Femme-Powered Woman interview series, but I remember you talking about him and how supportive he was and how you really did have a collaborative partnership. So can you speak a little bit to what you did to develop a relationship like that, what you did to continue to cultivate it, that allowed both of you to really pursue your passions?
Well, I'm not sure how much I had to do with it, Myra. He was an exceptional guy. I mean, he was ahead of his time. I mean, it wasn't a guy of that age in that era usually did not show that kind of support, but he was very, very open to everything. And so he supported me. He loved the fact that I made money. I mean, he loved the fact I made money because it allowed him to buy more toys and it allowed us to, develop things together. And he always said, he didn't say this to me, this is interesting. He said this to our son. He said, I would hate a woman who clings on me. I would hate a woman who follows me around. So he liked the fact that I was independent. And he trusted me enough. That's the key. He trusted me enough to know that when I was out, he says, you don't like to flirt. He says, you like to work. He says, when you're out working. And then you come home when you're done, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or whether it's 5 days later because you're on the road, you come home. And even when we got married Thanksgiving Eve, because Thanksgiving was the only day I could take off. And by the time he went back to work on Monday and they said, how's married life? He says, I don't know, my wife's gone already. So it was our entire marriage like that. And it worked out well. And he was a homebody. He liked to be home. He didn't like to travel that much. So it worked out very, very well because he created his own business besides what he did for work. And then when our kids the youngest got to be 16, he opened his own business, and that was all she wrote. Then we were both in business for ourselves.
Very cool. So you were able to really create this partnership where you were able to be on the same page and really make things happen.
Absolutely. Even though we were and this is very important for your listeners to understand, we were two totally different people. If I said A, he said B. If I voted one way, he voted the other way. We were absolute opposites. He was a football guy. I was a Dancing with the Stars gal. So we were two totally different people, but it didn't matter. In other words, if he was in one room watching TV and I was in another room watching TV, something different, he was fine with that. It was not it was not, you must watch what I watch. So I think it was that, and when we came together, Mara, we had so much fun. We just laughed like little kids. We got the biggest kick out of whether it was going to dinner or going to a movie. We were always holding hands. It was just a wonderful relationship.
Well, I've got a little interruption going on over here because I forgot the SDG&E guys coming. So I'm going to pause, and if you can tell a story while I'm dealing with that, that would be great.
All right. That's
the fun of doing something live. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I'll tell people, it's not always wonderful when you're doing all this traveling. And it's interesting because I was speaking, actually I was trying to get to Watertown, New York, which is the northern New York part of New York State. And I was in Philly, and I had 3 planes cancel. And so I was on my way to Watertown, and it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was still on a plane on the tarmac. This was the 3rd flight, and I thought, wow, we're really going to go. And no, we turned around and went back to the terminal. And so here I was at 1:30 in the morning. I had a program at 9 o'clock the next morning. There was no way they could get another speaker to get there at this hour of the morning. So I called the meeting planner and I said, look, I'm going to hire a taxi, but it's probably going to cost me about $500. And she said, whatever you have to do, just get here. So I found a taxi driver who would drive me for $500 to Watertown. And I said, you sure you know where you're going? And he said, oh, yes. And so we started off, and of course it was pitch black. I couldn't tell where I was. And he kept stopping for a drink. He's stopping for a sandwich. And I said, we have to be in Watertown. No problem. Well, when the dawn broke at 6 o'clock in the morning and I could actually see, I saw a sign that said Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I said, we're still in Pennsylvania. We've got to go to North New York State. And he said, I cannot drive one more mile. I said, get in the back seat. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to drive your taxi, and I'm getting us to Watertown. So I stuffed him in the back seat. I drove to Watertown, 5 minutes outside of Watertown. I stopped the taxi. I pulled off the side of the road. He said, what are you doing? I said, I have to get dressed. I was in my jeans. And he said, where are you going to get dressed? I said, in the back seat. Get my bags out of the trunk. And in the back seat of the car, I put on my pantyhose, my suit, everything. We pulled up to the hotel at 1 minute to 9. I jumped out. The meeting planner was there to give him a check. I ran in to do my seminar, and the group awarded me the Taxi Driver of the Year award. Now, I'm not sure I would still do that today, but I can tell you that's what I did. I drove all night in a taxi myself to get there for that program at 9 o'clock the next morning. So when you hear about all the glamour of speaking, just know all of us who are speakers have gone the exceptional distance to make sure we did our performance.
I love that story. That's so cool. That's the spunky part of you.
That's right.
I'm going to figure out a way to make this happen. Just like when I have to run and go deal with my utility guy, and there you are to take over and tell a great story. Thanks for filling in the gaps.
No problem.
Well, as we wrap up, Gayle, I just wanted to see if there was any other thoughts or things that you would want to share with the audience. My viewers it's a co-ed audience, but really a lot of women. Is there anything that you would say and speak into women as far as what they can do to really create a life that they love and live that regret-free lifestyle?
Well, I think the most important thing is that they make their own decisions, and they don't listen to everybody else that's, kind of calling to them in their ears. Make sure that the life that you have, the job that you have, the business that you want to start, the business you own, whatever it happens to be, is your desire, because you want to do your own thing. And I think it's important to be strong in your decisions, and that they need to be your decisions and no one else's. So those are the things that I would talk about. And we also have, I don't know, Mara, if you're going to tell the people about the offer we have for them. But
yes, that was next. So let's go ahead. One of the things that I love to do on the Mara Show, when I can bring in incredible people like Gayle and some of the other guests that are in the area of specializing in personal development, business, and relationships, one of the things that I know is that my listeners really want to be able to connect with the guests. So I ask them to give something away as a way for you to be able to get to know them a little bit better. So let's find out a little bit more about what Gayle has for you.
Well, what I'm going to give your listeners is 1 hour of total coaching so we can get them where they want to go. They're going to walk away with a plan of action, and we're going to cut right to the chase and give them the 4 or 5 steps they need to do now to get them on the road to success. That's number one. And they will also get copies of 3 of my books, Winning Ways, How to Get to the Top and Stay There, Big Ideas for Your Business, and How to Be an S.O.B, a spunky old broad who kicks butt. And with that, that normally is $9.97. And for your listeners, it'll be $2.97. So they're saving $700, and they're going to walk away with a plan of action to do whatever it is they want to do, whether it's business or life or both.
Perfect. So what we do is make it really easy. We'll have a link over on themarashow.com. So if you head to themarashow.com/archives, right underneath this video, this interview, you're going to be able to click a link that'll take you over to Gayle's website to be able to take her up on that amazing offer. As we wrap up, Gayle, just wanted to find out if you have a favorite quote or book, or maybe both, that you have found inspirational in your life that you'd like to share with the listeners as we wrap up.
Well, I can't tell you that there's a favorite book, because I read a book a week, so I have so many favorite ones. But the one that I've used even in my schools and in my speeches and even today as the S.O.B. is be the best you can be. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. Don't compare yourself to your idols up there. Be the best you can be. And if you can be that, then you will definitely hit the high mark that you want to. And I think that's the key. I think too many people try to imitate others. And I just think it's important for everyone to be their own individual best self.
I love that. What a perfect way to end today's Mara Show. Gayle, thank you so much for being here with us. And I want to thank all of our viewers. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about Gayle's offer, head to themarashow.com/archives. Right underneath this video, you'll be able to click a button that will take you to connect you with Gayle. And join us next week. We're airing live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. And we bring the experts in the area of personal development, business, and relationships. I'm your host of The Mara Show, Mara, founder of FemPower You and Financial Power You, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for being here, Gayle.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and have a great day. Bye, everybody.